Good morning, everybody.
When you graduate, they graduate. Finish your high school diploma for you and for them. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
This is the Talking Information Center, a window to independence through local volunteers reading over 300 newspapers, magazines, and books specific to your community.
Now available on your smart speaker by saying, play radio station Talking Information Center.
For comments and more information, call 781-834-4400 or visit ticnetwork.org.
Thank you for listening.
RSLP Pittsfield, WLO Legendary, VA, FL, WDJM, Birmingham.
Broadcasting live from the Taunton Federal Credit Union studios at 14 Church Green, we are AM 1530, WVBF, Middleboro, Taunton, and W259DD, Middleboro Center, 99.7 FM, your hometown radio station.
I guess I'm gonna go with yellow mic.
Yellow mic.
Yeah.
You mean red mic? You're sitting in red mic.
No, because Ed's gonna say yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I go with yellow.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah.
USA News, I'm Ryan Daniels.
While Washington decides how much more support to send to Ukraine in its war against Russia, Ukrainian forces confirm they have pulled out of the key city of Avdiivka. It is the second significant loss for Ukraine along
They
the
need
front
to
lines
just
as Russia
end that
moves
war.
fast to advance into Bakhmut.
They're not gonna get all their land back.
Bipartisan foreign aid
No,
bill crafted
yeah.
by an equal number
Putin
of
has
House
to
Republicans
just
and
go to
House
the negotiation
Democrats that
table.
would
They
send
both
more
do.
help to Ukraine, Israel,
And so does
Taiwan, and help the
Zelensky.
Pentagon replace
They
weapons
need to end it
stocks and
because
supplies
it.
overseas.
It's not. Yeah, it's not getting anywhere either.
I don't think anyone should pay for
will
it.
be. Russia will destroy us, destroy Baltic,
Waste of
destroy
money.
Poland, and they can do it.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky on a CNN Foreign Affairs panel. The bipartisan $66 billion House measure, unlike its $95 billion Senate counterpart, does not include much of the humanitarian assistance, but rather focuses heavily on allied military needs. The bill also includes provisions for U.S. Central Command to keep up the fight against radical Islamic forces in the Middle East. Former President Trump has suggested the U.S. offer loans and not direct handouts. Trump, very clear about how he feels about the order to pay over $350 million in his New York civil fraud trial.
This judge thought Mar-a-Lago is worth $18 million, and it's worth anywhere from 50 to 100 times that amount. So we realized that. He ruled against me before he even got the case. He ruled against me, said I was guilty. He didn't know what I was guilty of.
Trump will most likely have to pay the $355 million before he can appeal. On that note, perhaps you're interested in a pair of new Trump sneakers. Shortly after the verdict, the former president announcing at Philadelphia's SneakerCon Saturday that he believes the shoes will be a major success. The website selling the shoes also features a perfume and cologne on sale for $100 each. This is USA News.
Omaha Steaks is rewriting the book on burgers with an all-new handmade texture for the juiciest home-style burgers you've ever tasted. Their pure ground burgers are made from single cuts of real aged Omaha steaks. These are truly steaks on a bun. Filet mignon, ribeye, New York strip, sirloin, and even
For $100
brisket burgers. Now is the time to experience the exclusive Burger Perfection Flight for just $79.99. Go to omahasteaks.com and use promo code TREAT at checkout to get an extra $20 off your order, plus free shipping.
You get all
You'll
your
get 4
stuff.
of each pure ground
You didn't
burger,
read
so
every
you
day,
can
right?
sample all the steak on a bun greatness. These burgers are crafted for a juicier, more tender experience, making your mouth water with every single
Yeah,
one.
you pretty much got
Don't
to see
wait.
that whole
Go to
band, that whole
omahasteaks.com.
nothing.
Use promo
Right.
code
Good,
TREAT
I'm
at
good.
checkout and get
Better than the first
$20
band?
off the Burger Perfection Flight and discover your new burger obsession. Minimum order may be required.
The FDA is approving Xolair
I really
as the
liked-
first and
yeah, I really
only
liked
medicine
Enough's
for
Enough.
people with one or more food
And
allergies.
the guy
It's an
you said
injectable
was-
asthma medication. And after clinical testing,
The guy
it
you
showed it
said was
helped
awesome.
people who had food-related allergic
You had a different
reactions.
base.
During the testing, the study showed
Yeah,
a significantly higher proportion of
whoever
food
the- whoever
allergy
that drummer
patients as
is-
young as 1 year treated
yeah.
with Xolair
Yeah,
could tolerate
yeah,
small
make sure he
amounts of
keeps-
peanut, milk,
he keeps
egg,
that guy.
and cashew
Yeah.
without an allergic reaction compared to a placebo. The medication has been out since 2003. For
And
food
there's so
allergies,
on-
the patient
so
would
on
take
Amazon.
the med for
So many
about
Henderson's
10
a
months
legend.
at a
He's-
cost of
he's-
around $3,600 per month. The White
But
House
he-
is speaking
he
directly
seemed
to
to be
concerns
more-
related to
more
a
on
national
fire
security threat flagged by the chair
that
of the
that
House
night.
Intelligence Committee
On
last
Fri-
week.
he was-
National Security Council
He was
spokesman
more
John
on
Kirby
fire.
Can you confirm?
I don't know what it
Related
is.
to an
Maybe
anti-satellite
it's the
capability
venue.
that Russia's
I
developing.
don't know.
This
It's,
capability
Well,
has
that's
not
a good
been
room.
deployed by Russia, and
That's
that
a
no
good-
one is
they
in
did a good
immediate
job of the
danger.
acoustics on
Republican
that
Mike
room.
Turner
You know,
wants
this
the
is like
Biden
the show
administration
seeing
to
it there. They really
declassify
did
the
good.
details.
He-
that
he-
be
he-
discussed
but he
openly.
was like-
Lawmakers were briefed on Capitol Hill
he was
last
like,
week. There's
oh,
like
that's the
second time seeing him
call
because,
from the UN
he
for a
was
new
like-
ceasefire agreement in
Sa-
Gaza this
Swords-
week. By Tuesday,
Sands was-
UN leaders are set to
Swords
vote
was
on a
like
resolution calling for another pause in
otherworldly.
fighting between
He was
Israel and Hamas. The
crazy
UN would
good.
issued a call based
Yeah,
on
that liked him,
humanitarian
too.
needs inside the
Yeah,
Gaza
this is
Strip.
like ours.
I'm Ryan Daniels,
Yeah.
USA News.
I hope Pat listens to.
Do you have a story to tell? Bring your
Resident-
story to life with
Resident-
audiobooks.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah, I mean,
stories deserve
the-
great
I don't,
stories. Audiobook
I'm gonna
Network
just-
provides professional
I'm
voice
gonna
actors
just start
and full production services.
Yeah, well,
for
I
every
mean,
author's
with the thing,
manuscript.
and then I'll do my
Production
open.
and editing,
And just do the open
distribution,
because it's gonna be
sales,
better if I
Audiobook Network
start
handles
with this.
everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Whether
no,
you
I'll
have
do
an
the open.
ebook or even a
Yeah,
manuscript.
that's how you've
Call
done it for the last
Audiobook
few years.
Network now and get our free
Yeah.
audiobook guide.
Yeah, it'd be
800-734-1229.
He knows the
800-734-1229.
deal. He knows his news and what we do.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and do not express the views of WVDF ownership
Sounds like it's-
or Hometown Talk Radio. Content aired on all programs are those of the host and their guests.
almost 21 years ago, in a little club where literally everybody knew your name, heaven gained 100 angels. The station nightclub was the spot, and it was the show of a lifetime to many whom were there. You could hear the excitement in the voices of the crowd as Great White began to play, but how quickly those yells of joy turned into screams of pain. Brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, mothers, fathers gone in a matter of minutes. When pyrotechnics were set off during the opening number, the sparks unexpectedly ignited foam used for soundproofing the ceiling of the club. Those flames spread quickly, engulfing the club and claiming the lives of many of those trying to escape. Between the mix of toxic smoke and the mass rush for the main exit and the heat from the flames, 100 people died and 230 people were hurt. 132 patrons escaped physically unharmed, but emotionally crippled for the rest of their lives. This fire was the fourth deadliest fire in a nightclub in United States history. New codes have since been put into place to try to prevent a terrible accident like this from happening again. Sprinkler system requirements have tightened, and additional exit requirements for clubs also have been changed since this tragedy. We will never know the true magnitude of the loss of those lives. Many who perished could have gone on to do significant things or make great changes in the world. That will never be known. But what we do know is that tonight, we hug our loved ones a little longer. We stop and smell the roses instead of just passing them by. We cherish the lives we have in memory of the lives we lost.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace has brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun.
Hey, Joey, what's happening? I mean, what's happening in Middleboro and surrounding towns? It's time for the Middleboro Week in Review with your host, Joey Driscoll. Stay tuned for news, Middleboro news, here on AM 1530 WBBF. Hey, Joey, what's happening?
And good morning and welcome to Middleboro in Review. I am Joey Driscoll. I am joined by Dawn this morning. Good morning, Dawn.
Good morning. That read and that song always puts a lump in my heart because of the tragic events of close to 21 years ago.
21 years ago on Tuesday.
On February 20, 2003, the station nightclub fire, which will always be it'll always be hurt everyone's hearts everywhere in the world, and especially in this area. I do know I know a person who passed away I grew up with, so I think it touches a lot of people, and I think always to remember that, and it was a beautiful read, and you did it really well. It's the fourth year in a row we've done that, and it's just fitting. We got to try to remember, because it's you always got to remember things like that.
And we're also joined by Ed Miller this morning. Good morning, Ed. How are you?
Well, thank you for having me on, Joey. You were mentioning the station fire, and it's when you say 21 years ago, I was thinking, boy, it was that long ago, but it's still so prevalent, and people still think about it. It's just one of those things that you remember where you were when you heard about it, and you never want to forget. But again, I was just shocked. I go, wow, 21 years ago, but it still feels like in my mind that it was just recent.
You know what? It's funny too, because there was snow on the ground during that time. I remember, 21 years ago, it was, February, and we did have like the snow we have outside. It's it's right now you feel it a little bit, and yeah, it's just like you said. It could it's not 21 years ago. It doesn't seem like it was 21 years ago. It seems like we just heard that terrible news.
Yes. Yeah.
And I remember it was I found out in the morning. It's when you wake up in the morning, and that's when I was sleeping. So I mean that's more devastating when you wake up. And then you find out that something horrific has happened and so many people perished. Such a tragedy. But there is one thing that brings me comfort is I do go to that memorial in West Warwick. The Station Nightclub has a beautiful memorial. I took you there, right, Joey?
Yes.
It's I say it every year too. They did such a great job on it. It's relatively new. I think it's like, I don't know, maybe 10 years old now. 2015, 2014. But if you look at the brickwork or the marble work at the far end, it's like it's bleeding. And you wonder, it's such a new. Why is it bleeding? Why is the walls bleeding? And well, the park's crying, in my opinion. It's just tears. But they did an excellent job on that. And if you have never been there, it's at the Station Nightclub site. It is beautiful. It's worth a day to go check out, walk around. I've talked to people, who actually my cousin lost a good friend, and she just can't bring herself to go there. You know what I'm saying? It's just and the person, she told me her friend who passed away. It's a picture of that, and they took a snapshot. She didn't want to look at the picture. So I mean, it's just everyone deals with grief in a different way, and like I said, I personally knew somebody. I grew up in Quincy. His name was Kevin Dunn, and I went with him in Quincy High School, and it's I don't know. It's tough thing, and it's a tough thing to do. And like Ed said, it's been 21 years really.
And it still hits that raw emotion.
Yeah. So it's always good to remember that and remind people, because like you said in the read, you got to kiss your loved ones a little harder. Hug them. Yeah. You don't know if you're going to see them tomorrow or what. So.
And you don't want to forget a tragedy, because if you do, it can happen again. In Brockton, they celebrate the Strand. Celebrate's the wrong word, of course. They mourn the Strand Theater, which happened 70, 80 years ago, but we don't want to forget, because we want to be able to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Right.
So that's why we need these memorials and talking about things that happened 21 years ago, 70 years ago, or 150 years ago.
Right.
We need to keep these in our mind, because we will make the same mistake if we forget about it.
You know what it is? It always seems to sneak up on us when we don't expect it.
Yeah.
It's you hear about it. Like you said, what happened in Brockton. What year was that? You said about 70, 80 years ago.
I think it was in. I want to say.
Just before the Coconut Grove, right?
Yeah. I want to say the 50s, but.
Okay, the Coconut Grove, I think, was in the 30s, but yeah, 20 years, and then you get 2003. So there was a DJ. His name was Dr. Metal, Mike. Or Dr. Metal. What was his name? Mike. I wish I knew his name, but they called him Dr. Metal, and he perished going back and looking for people. I guess the smoke was just too much. Everyone thought they could run in and grab somebody, and the smoke just took them out.
And now that's why they have the masks, the air tanks.
Yep.
Didn't have that in the 50s or 30s or whatever.
Yep.
Didn't even have it in the 60s and 70s. I think it was more prevalent in the 80s and after, when they started doing things like that. But that's where we learned.
Yeah. Mike Gonzalez, that was Dr. Metal. He was a DJ on the HJY. He was there promoting them, and it was kind of creepy about it. Is I was driving the night before, wasn't the night out, but the night before I was working late, and I was listening to the WHJY, and they're giving out tickets. And they had the guitarist and the singer in the studio talking about the gig. And then the next day, it's all over.
It's 7:19. We're going to take our first commercial break right now. When we come back, we are going to do our Today in History. And then we'll get into the show with Ed Miller. A great show. We're going to talk about Stand Up Strong, how that began. And we're going to talk, I'm sure we're going to get into some sports. We're going to get into some Patriots. We're getting there. Got another month and a half before draft. Actually, more than that, 2 months before the draft. And then before you know it, it'll be July, and it'll be summer training camp. It'll be very, it's coming. We only got, a couple more weeks without football because UFL starts. So you have that.
Yeah.
So, all right, it is 7:20. Let's take our first commercial break right now, and we'll be right back here on Middleboro Review on WVBF 1530 AM 99.7 FM.
Do you like the game last week? The Super Bowl?
Super Bowl? I watched, well, actually, I only saw the first half of it, so I saw the bad half.
Oh.
Without, it was like 10.
You went to bed?
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did too. And Joey said you shouldn't have went to bed. I was like,
Yeah, you should have went to bed.
Yeah. And it's like, one of the few things I don't want politicized is a Super Bowl. I don't care if Taylor Swift is there. I don't care who she's dating. I don't care who, Kelsey. I don't care who anybody's dating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that just sucked the fun out of it.
Yeah. And sometimes the ads do, because some people put more emphasis on the ads in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, just keep your mouth shut. Play the ads. You don't have to.
Yeah. And some are great. I mean, they put in millions of dollars to do an ad in the Super Bowl.
And everyone talks about, was the ad worth it, or who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did they get ripped off? Was it the ad worth all the money?
Well, they don't have to do it. And the odds are,
just do it.
Half the people who are watching aren't going to watch it, or something else is going to catch it. But it's something to do with that. Yeah. If they want to invest, I think it's a good investment if you're not expecting a monetary investment. You want someone to notice you. They're going to notice in the Super Bowl.
I don't want to know the ads. I just want to, if I'm sitting there watching it and the ads are fun or whatever, I'm not there just to watch the stupid ads, you know what I mean? But I want them to surprise me. But some people will look at the ad list, so let's get,
that I don't care.
I just like,
It's like when you get to the Super Bowl, an ad in the Super Bowl, it's like watching a 1 minute movie.
Yeah.
And if I find it entertaining, the odds are I'm not going to run out and buy the product, or I already buying the product. So.
Yeah. Usually when you buy products, you buy them anyway. You've been buying them.
Yeah.
I think advertising to some degree when it comes to purchasing, it's like products. A lot of people pretty much get their mind made up. Advertising in other areas like entertainment, movies, stuff like that. I think that's different. That's more of a check out, register, eyeball, I'm gonna buy it, stuff at the register, the kind of impulse buying,
Yeah, there was only like one memorable Super Bowl ad this year, and that was the Christopher Walken BMW ad.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But
that
funny.
more
you can't go wrong with Christopher Walken.
Yeah, it's Christopher Walken, and it's having a sense of humor with Christopher Walken, which he got into, and that's what it was good because
he started all that one with one more cowbell thing on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. And good morning, everybody. It is 7:23. I'm Joey Driscoll, joined by Dawn today, and joined by Ed Miller as well of Stand Up Strong. We're going to talk to him today about Stand Up Strong, the radio show, how that got started, and many other things today. So stay tuned for that in just a moment. But first, we got our Today in History. 1791, Congress passes a law admitting the state of Vermont to the Union, effective March 4th, 1791. After that, the state had existed for 14 years as a de facto independent, largely unrecognized state. 1885, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain is published in the United States. And in 1979, Richard Petty wins a then record 6th Daytona 500 after leaders Donnie Allison and Cale Yarborough crash on the final lap of the first NASCAR race. Televised live, flag to flag. And I believe those two drivers, Donnie Allison and Cale Yarborough, got into a little bit of a fist fight afterwards. They weren't that too happy with each other. So they got into a fist fight, and everyone saw that on live television. Birthdays. 1862, Charles M. Schwab, American businessman, co-founded Bethlehem Steel. Under his leadership, Bethlehem Steel became the second largest steel maker in the United States and one of the most important heavy manufacturers in the world. 1933, turning 91 today, Yoko Ono, Japanese-American multimedia artist and musician, longtime wife. Were they married? They were married, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Yes.
Yoko Ono and John Lennon, longtime wife of
She's
John
older.
Lennon.
She was older than John then. If she's 91.
She's older than John. Yeah.
John was born in 1940, so if she's 91, what's that? In
1930.
1933. She was born on this day in 1933. 91 years old today. 1947, Dennis DeYoung, American musician, singer, and songwriter of the band Styx. 1954, John Travolta, American actor, singer, producer, taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, Grease, some really great films.
Welcome Back, Carter was his start. And that was a fun. You remember that? Watching that growing up,
yeah.
That was a lot of fun. You know,
His
Bush
show?
Shack and
And you know, I did meet Gabe Kaplan once at a deli in Brockton. Deli in Boston when I was with my father. And I'll tell you, I just got a bad experience with him. They did say he wasn't like the nicest person.
Right.
But when an 8-year-old kid comes up to you and say, "I'm a fan of your show," didn't look up from him and say, "Thank you," and just kind of dismiss it. I always felt like that.
That's too bad.
If I was an adult and I came up to, "Hey, I know you, Gabe. I like your show," I could understand.
Well,
hey, I'm kind of here.
It's part of the territory.
Yeah, it's an 8-year-old. Yeah, I was 8, and one of those things I won't forget.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate because he was a very funny comedian. The show was great. It launched John Travolta's career.
Yeah.
You know.
Out of the Sweat Hogs, he was the one who got launched. The other three, I'm not sure what they did, but it wasn't. John Travolta was huge.
Right. He made it, and the others had like a decent career. You would see him in a movie here and there. Or a lot of them, what happens, they go and work behind the scenes,
right?
But they still launch it.
They
can make a living.
There's always one superstar that comes out.
Yeah.
One of those sitcom shows.
Born on this day, 1957, Vanna White. Vanna White. 1964, Matt Dillon. What? 1/3 of the Dun Kings. That's a funny commercial. The Dun Kings.
Matt Dillon wasn't that?
Yes, he was.
Oh,
Matt
really?
Dillon. Matt Dillon, Mark Wahlberg, and Tom Brady.
What about and the other one was Ben Affleck.
Oh, you know what? No, never mind.
It wasn't Matt Dillon.
Yeah, not Matt Dillon.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Matt Dillon.
Not Matt Dillon at all. I apologize. Matt Dillon, great actor. He wasn't in that ad. Should have been in that ad because he's great. And he was in a ton of great films. And he, I believe, is...
You're thinking Matt Damon.
I'm thinking Matt Damon. I apologize. Yeah.
Tom Brady was in that ad?
Yes, he
really?
was.
Was he on the keyboards?
So it was Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And then J-Lo was in it. Matt Dillon, completely different I apologize. I'm thinking Matt Damon.
You're messing up your math.
I'm messing up my maths. There's too many maths.
You know, it's funny as you're mentioning it. One of the things I like to do, especially if I'm watching an older movie, like 20 years or something out of the 50s, I like to watch the cast and scan down. And every once in a while, like the last person mentioned, it's like pilot number 2, Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
You know,
or
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
And I like seeing that.
Yeah.
Seeing the superstars before they became superstars, and you would go. You know, I didn't even know he was in that movie, you know, but it's great when you do see that.
It's funny, too, because if you look at at the, like in the 90s, early 2000s, late 80s, you got a lot of these stars who were superstars, like George Kennedy, for example. He was always a star in a role. George Kennedy, Ernest Borgnine was another one.
Right.
Telly Savalas. All these people.
But they had to get their start. I forget the movie, but Jamie Farrar, who's Jamie Farr, we all know him from MASH.
Klingon.
What's the movie? But he was like one of those where, and he used Farrar more than his name. But what was the movie? But it's like shocked me, and I had to watch the movie again just to see him in there. And he was in the movie very young, you know. But yeah, when you see that. You know, and it just say, hey, everybody had to start somewhere.
There's a movie called Emperor of the North, okay, 1973, and everyone looks at Ernest Borgnine, Mikhail Navy, you know, nice guy, goofy, kind of, you know, he was a savage in that movie. You ever see that movie, Emperor of the North? Oh my God, my father took me to see that movie, and my God, that was like I was scared. He was vicious. So it goes to show that. Robin Williams done it too on a few movies. You know what I mean?
Ernest Borgnine, after Mikhail's Navy, got typecast. That was always the
right.
He had some great stage plays. If you look at his career, great characters. Nothing like the Skipper. You know?
Right.
You get typecast, and sometimes you can't get out of that.
Right. It's hard to. But anybody who thinks that's him, go check out Dial Up Emperor of the North. It's Lee Marvin's in that too.
Yeah. And that was about the hobos?
Yeah, it was about the Depression. He was a conductor.
Yeah.
And no hobo was going to ride on his train. Nobody. That was his, that was his stand-in life, you know. He was the meanest conductor on the whole railroad. It was supposed to be up northern Oregon or wherever it was, you know.
1965, Dr. Dre, American rapper, record producer, and entrepreneur, really helped launch the career of Eminem. Eminem's one of the best rappers of the 90s to 2000s. Dr. Dre really helped with really launching his career. 1968, Molly Ringwald, Breakfast Club.
Pretty in Pink.
Yeah. 16 Candles?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know too many Molly Ringwald.
No, those are good movies to sit down. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And she's still prevalent. I mean, they casted her in Riverdale, which was more with the WB and was more for the teenage young 20 crowd. But they casted her in there, and the audience really liked her. Even people who didn't really know who Molly. We know who Molly Ringwald is, and her character grew. She was supposed to be just a temporary.
Yeah. Well, all the characters, like John Cryer, too, was Ducky. I think that was in Pretty in Pink. That was a character I liked. He was just one of those guys. He was just one of those. And he brought that character to 2.5 Men, I think. Yeah. He has that same attitude, that same... It seems
quirky.
Maybe if you met him, he'd probably be that way. So you can wonder, but then you met Gabe Kaplan, and he was a jerk.
Yeah. All right, in our passings today, we have 3. 1564, Michelangelo, an Italian sculptor and painter, passed away on this day. 1695, William Phipps, I hope I'm saying that correctly, governor of Massachusetts, the first New England native to be knighted and the first royalty appointed governor of the province of Massachusetts Bay. And passing away on this day, Dale Earnhardt, American racer, NASCAR, 7-time champion, only to be tied by one other person, Jimmy Johnson. Dale Earnhardt was one of the best of all time. Definitely just an amazing NASCAR driver, taken from us too soon in a horrible crash at Daytona, at the Daytona 500 in 2001, on this day, 2001. All right, that is your Today in History's birthdays and passings today, and we're going to take our last commercial break right now so that we can have the remaining time to talk to Ed Miller about many things, and we'll open phone line today as well. 508-822-1106 if you want to call in.
Yeah, I mean, we've really been lucky because a lot of people have been getting out of bed early for us.
Yes, all right. So we'll take our last commercial break right now. You're listening to WVBF 1530 AM, 99.7 FM. We'll be right back. Might as well just get this last commercial out of the way here. So I have to deal with it here. I'll already scramble at 7:50. Commercials.
Massachusetts Secretary of Education. The COVID-19 pandemic disrupted a lot of routines, including the habit of...
Did you guys have to work on Tuesday, the storm? Did you go in?
No.
No?
They were expecting a lot more stuff,
Yeah.
so they canceled it the day before.
Yeah, that's good. Snow day's always fun, you know?
Yeah, it's like, let's get up.
I got up at,
You know, and it makes me think more, because I'm actually, maybe about 4 months ago, these groups spoke in front of this state house, state senate, on the benefit of a 4-day work week, you know, and how it's more productive.
it is more productive.
And I was saying, you know, you would have to switch your days, because, and places where, but, you know, the thing is, instead of getting it out on Monday, because we had it on a Tuesday, I would think it's like you want it on a Wednesday, at least every other Wednesday, and then you kind of switch it, because you still have to be open on Friday or Monday, but you need the full crew. You know, when's your busiest day, and maybe you could, you know, remember restaurants used to be closed on Monday, because there was no business.
Yeah, you stop on Monday. You can't get a haircut or eat on Monday. Every place is closed, you know what I mean? It just really depends. I mean, you're right, because, I mean, I think people would rather work a 10-hour day, you know.
And even that, they're working 8-hour days, so working 32 hours a week. But they were being more productive in that 32-hour work week than a 40-hour work week.
Right. Well, it doesn't seem like 2 days is enough. I mean,
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we don't have the blue laws anymore. So nothing is open on a Sunday.
Right.
So you had that. So you needed another day. Now we don't have. People work Saturdays. Maybe off during the week, maybe not. Maybe working 6 days a week.
I think a lot of people with the 2 days, the extra day, I think it would make the economy better too, because everyone would just kind of have their ducks in a row. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like you have 2 days, and then, you know, I'm gonna get around paying my bills on time, you know, and you don't do it because you just you know, it's too much work. But if you have that third day, it just seems everything would be more squared away.
Yeah.
Everything would be more tidy.
You'd have more time.
Yeah, you'd have more time to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if
Like
you
you
used
said,
to having 2 days off, you're not gonna, you know, you're not.
You need that one first day off just to get your energy back.
Right.
To get everything else, and then you gotta do everything. And you go, I got too much to do.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna do it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yellow Mike.
I mean, I've a ton of money in the bank, but you're just too tired to pay your bills on time.
Yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean?
that.
You know what I mean? It's not that you don't want to pay them, it's just you're just too tired to do it.
I still go with checks, and some I do online.
Yeah, I do most of my stuff online now. It's just they're a lot happier with me there.
I can do it at 11 o'clock at night.
3, 2, 1, and 0. And we're back as I turn the music down. There we go. There we go. It is 7:38 a.m. Commercials are done. We've done both commercial breaks, so remaining time, we're going to talk with Don, we're going to talk with Ed. Open phone lines, 508-822-1106. If you want to call in, if you have a question for Ed, if you have a question for Don, if you have a question for me, 508-822-1106.
This is like Christmas morning coming in here.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, got a present here, you know.
But
He's got a two red shirts, so it's presents, you know.
but before we
Get
get
my
to
flannel.
Yeah.
before we get to Ed, our weather. This is one thing we gotta make sure I do here, not forget to do. And here we go. Our weather outside of our Taunton Federal Credit Union studios at 14 Church Green. It is 21 degrees. Feels like winter, for sure. It's cold. No rain or snow in the forecast today, which is great. Clear skies, 38 degrees. It's going to gradually warm up a little bit. Tomorrow's going to be 39 degrees. Wednesday is supposed to be 41. And by the end of this week,
Get rid of some of the snow.
Into the mid 40s as well. And then it'll go back down, unfortunately, to the upper 30s. But it is winter, so that's what we should expect. Cold weather. Got another month or so before we're kind of out of the woods.
It always snows on
the winter.
St. Patty's Day, doesn't it? Doesn't it always snow on St.
It
Patty's?
seems like, yeah.
37 degrees for the high today in Middleboro. Right now, currently 21 degrees. No rain in the forecast. Clear skies. 17 degrees in Driscoll, North Dakota. A high of 38 today. So pretty much the same temperatures in North Dakota than it is here. It's going to gradually warm up pretty quickly in North Dakota as well. It's going to get up to 48 by Wednesday and 51 by next Sunday. So it's going to be pretty warm. In Driscoll, Texas, clear skies, a high of 58 today. That's it. It's only going to go up to 58, 39 degrees right now, but it will gradually go up exponentially. Tomorrow, 70 degrees. Tuesday, 79 degrees. And by Thursday, it'll be in the mid-80s in Driscoll, Texas. So it's going to be pretty warm. But today is kind of cold.
I got to say because it has nothing to do with anything, but I just found a little story interesting as you're talking about weather. Yes, weather is so exciting. They canceled the Adirondack race, the dog sled race, for the second year in a row in Alaska. And the reason is they don't have any snow. And I just I was driving and I go, we're talking Alaska, who has a winter 10 and a half months long. They get, 6 weeks off of nice weather, and that's about it. And they had to cancel it again.
Well, they should
because
just
they have no snow. They should put wheels on.
No, why don't you do it in Buffalo?
Do it in Buffalo.
Buffalo, the new Alaska.
New York Adirondacks.
Yeah, they do seem to get hit.
Yeah, no, I don't think they don't have it. They have no snow issues there.
So, Ed, thank you for coming on today. Just tell us a little bit about Stand Up Strong, how that got going, how that got started.
Well, one of the reasons it got started was we were starting to lose our local newspaper, Brockton Enterprise, which is now the Enterprise. And I don't blame the owners, and I'll get into that more. But I ran for office for city council, and 15 other people ran. And as much as they say 4 seats, it was only 1 seat because the other, you knew the incumbents were gonna make it in, and you just couldn't get your message out. Our radio station wasn't doing that great either, but one of the reasons is because they had these shows that have been on for 50 years and never adapted the thing. And I ran on that we needed a city planner. We haven't had one for 30 years. Businesses weren't moving into Brockton. Brockton was stagnant. We needed someone to go out and find that. People looked at me like I had a second head when I started talking about hiring a city planner. I didn't win the election. The problem is, within a year, they hired a city planner. And that said, we got to get people able to get their message out and why they're running. I also is, Brockton being, every city's like this. But as I call it, the old family club had the in to get elected. Now we're starting to see some changes. But what really made me do it as I'm running, and now I belong to 2 unions. I've always been a union guy. And I was talking to 2 people who worked at the school, within the school, and they were like Joe Union, or Josephine Union, if you want to say. Everything was union, and they were supporting the most anti-union person in the country, if not just the city. And I go, why are you voting for this person? Now, these are people, we were all in our mid-40s. One said, because I went to high school with him. And the other one said, because he was my kid's sports coach. I bet he was a great one, too. But is this person who would throw out every union in Brockton if he had a chance going to be support their economic value and what they need? You know, number one issue is always economy. And I say number one issue is my economy to me. You say the same thing, your economy, your economy. And when you're going to elect someone who would throw your union out, and that does give, you know, the middle class a voice in their jobs, that's what made me think we have to get more people in local, and we have to fight for local, like this station, because even 10:30 a.m. is all state stuff and country stuff. Once in a while they'll have a local issue if someone was shot or, you know, fell out of a building. But even that, they don't have the local issues, and we need things like that. Just to talk about Middleboro, talk about Brockton, what's happening in the city, what's the great thing. Brockton. Another reason is the only time Brockton got mentioned in the news if someone got shot. But so many great things were happening, so many great events that people weren't going to, local events, local groups. And I said I wanted to start a show to be able to publicize that.
You have Tony Branch, Bishop Tony Branch.
Yes.
How did you get started with Tony? Was Tony with you since day one, or did he come in?
He came in later.
Yeah.
I had a host, Chuck Blanchett. I liked his because he was more into music, so we had a lot of talking about that. I brought in Bishop Branch because he did have an outlook different than mine. And as you listen to the show, we don't agree a lot. But you know, if you really look at it,
I noticed that.
Yeah.
But
the thing is, we talk about what we don't agree on, but we agree 90% of the time on other issues. It's just once we don't, unless it's something really big.
One thing about your show, not to interrupt, is that's just because I didn't want to forget. When I listen to you guys, it's just, if you don't agree, that's fine. But it's so respectful. It's back and forth. It's the whole art of debate has been out the window. And then if you got shows that someone listen to me, says, listen to these two guys. They may not agree, but they're not screaming at each other. And they, not insulting each other. They seem to be friends. They're friendly. They have fun or whatever. That's what robust debate, in my opinion, should be all about.
And I want people on my show that I don't agree with. We talk about and having a different point of view. But I think, in as much as I kind of cringe that they're talking, they're never going to regulate what on social media because you have to have balls to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't think Washington has the balls to do that. But you have to. I agree that if I get in a debate and we don't agree, or you think this guy is better than this person, fine. But keep it respectful. When you start throwing insults, then the other person, I have to catch myself. I try to be a little snarky when someone's insulting me, calling me a moron because my opinion doesn't agree with them. How do you know you're not? How do you know you're right and I'm not right? Or how do I know I'm right and they're not right?
I always think of Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan having a drink together.
And if those two can get along and work together.
And they were friends.
Yeah.
They were friends. They used to go have a drink together. But they didn't, politically,
they didn't agree at all.
No, but I mean, that's just business, Tony. You know what I mean? You can't get too personal. Like they say, it's business, Tony. It's not personal. It's business, Tony. You know what I mean? That's it. I mean, if the vote went your way, fine. You just got to work a little harder to convince people. And that's the whole idea. You got to convince people.
I always said, I wish I could say it again, but I always said, the bill that you hate the most, and both sides worked on it, is probably the best bill. Because there's things in it you don't like, but there's things in it that you do. And everybody, that's the way it should work. And unfortunately, you got people now who just vote against it so they don't lose the talking point of gaining the money that you can get that you need for your campaign. And that's another problem, is that we allow all these PACs and dark money. I mean, I remember back in the 90s, they tried to do public financing of campaigns, so people who couldn't get the rich and, you know, the large groups to donate you small money, and then the rich groups to donate you a lot of money, would have a say. That kind of ran away by the wayside very quickly, but it was a good idea.
Yeah. No, that's definitely interesting on how that is, because the whole, you know, Joey giving $1, I'm giving $1 to your campaign.
Yeah.
That's, to me, I think that's more American.
In a lot of campaigns I work on locally, I help them out. I try to do the research and find the indicators. When Mayor Sullivan, his first year won, I was looking at where was the donation money out of the 4 people who were running in the primary coming from, and who's donating. Like the two of the biggest people who raised the most money were from big donors outside the city. Well, they're not going to be able to vote. They give you a chance to get your name out there, but local elections, you can do it on the cheap and still get your name out there. The people who raised a lot of money, but all came from within the city with a $20 to $100 check, those are the 2 people who made it into the primary. And as Bishop Branch and I talk about, I always talk about indicators, what's happening. You can say this, and Biden fell down the stairs, and you could say Donald Trump fell out of his golf cart. Who cares? Right. It's funny. I like to mention it.
Yeah.
And that would be something I'd love to talk about, Biden falling down the stairs, or Trump falling. It'd be fun to talk about, but it's not really an indicator.
Yeah, well, I just mention it 30-second minute and then move on.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of these news outlets, they just can't move on.
Yeah.
They just cannot move on.
That's a 24/7. They have to fill the news. And I notice in one of the things I'm talking, you ever notice that all the polls are close? One person one week has a 2% lead, and then the other person the next week has a 3% lead. And I always say, and don't look at your registered voter polls. There are registered voters who look at your likely voters, because they're the ones who are going to come out and likely vote. That's right. What we call them, likely voters. That's what we look for. But you want to know something? That's what I look at. I couldn't find a likely voter for the last week poll. No one did. They were all registered voters. And amazingly, you knew what the percentage was going to be. But they got to speak for 24 hours, 7 days a week. They need something to talk about. So I think they create these things. They're not lying. I have no doubt those registered voters were honest polls. But you can sway them one way or another. And also how the questions are being
asked. Yeah, and like anything, too. I mean, the day you go to vote, you could just change your mind.
Yeah.
I mean, we can still do that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not wired up. Elon Musk doesn't have us wired up. Well, we can't change our mind. Not yet, anyway.
I think that is a riot. Because everybody was, the one group was worried because Bill Gates was putting nanobots that were going to take over your control your mind with the nanobots. That was in the vaccine. That became one of the talking points. But I don't hear anybody complaining that Elon Musk wants to wire you into your computer. Now, I understand it's supposed to you control your computer with thought. But where are all the people who are saying, well, how about people who took control of your computer now can control you because you're wired in? That's the first thing that popped into my mind because I'm a bit of a paranoid schizophrenic also. But no one talked about that one. When you're wired into your computer, you plug yourself into your computer and you're worried about nanobots.
You know what? Give me the old clicker back. Give me the old black rotary phone on the kitchen wall.
And you won't pay $1,000 for your rotary phone on the wall.
I'm sorry.
So, what's going on for Stand Up Strong today on today's show at noon? By the way, noon today.
Well, of course, talking about Brockton. We always try to start off with Brockton. It is what's happening, and I have my guest is of someone on the school committee, because we had the $14 million shortfall. I'm going to rephrase that: $14 million overspending. Well, how do you do something like that? Where is the auditors? What's happening? We're still waiting. So we're going to be talking about that when we take about a new thing. Of course, we'll be talking about all the lawsuits that the former president lost. And a few other things on the news. I want to see what came out today. I also try to do that. But basically, it will be the school committee. We tried now talking about different businesses that are finally starting to open up. As we know, government moves exceedingly slow. So trying to get business, and as we know, Brockton makes other governments look like they're moving extremely fast because they're so slow. But we are starting to see some changes. We are starting to see some good small businesses move in, and we'd like to talk about that.
One question about the new South Coast Rail that's going to be opening up this summer. Now, obviously, Taunton is going to be connected to Brockton, Fall River, and New Bedford for the first time since 1959, and in a real capacity. So, I mean, because I don't think you can grab a bus from New Bedford from Brockton. I mean, you got to go back into town.
Yeah. And if you could, you'd want to jump off a bridge.
Right.
For that long.
So, how do you think Brockton is their economy is going to change just by having people who can go back and forth as far as the dynamics of housing, or people maybe moving into the city who work in New Bedford now? Or how do you think that's? I mean, is it just a wait and see approach?
From but from what I'm seeing is, Brockton doesn't have too much more room to build houses. We're kind of maxed out. We're probably little areas here and there. So we have to look at the buildings that are existing now, and can we turn them into apartments? And one of the things we have been noticing, because of the boom in real estate, the boom and the raising of rents, and they are getting out of hand, but we are seeing people who are moving from Boston to Brockton, because you can jump on the train and be there in 20 minutes. You don't want to drive because it takes you over an hour and you sit in traffic. But we are seeing the use of the mass transit, and that's helping Brockton because we're getting a lot of young professionals. And hopefully, when it's as a young single professional gets into his career or her career, and they end up getting married and starting a family, we're hoping that they will buy the houses in Brockton. It's why, again, my show pushes extremely hard that we have to get family fun centers in Brockton. The bowling alley is pretty much, and the trampoline place, it's pretty much the only place, but we are seeing other people's look at it. And the bowling alley was just sold about a year ago, and they're doing a lot of work. So that's what we need in Brockton. But we are seeing people, because what would you rather do? Pay $3,000 for a studio apartment in Boston or South Boston, wherever it is, or get on a train for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, move into Brockton, get an apartment that's a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom for like $2,000 or $1,600 for the 1-bedroom. That's what we're seeing. It does make sense. I just like to see an extension on the times, because when I worked in the Boston and had to take the trains, if I didn't catch the 12 o'clock train, I couldn't get out of Boston. Being someone in my 20s, at the time, nowadays I'd run on the train as I got there. But then you want to stay. So they got to start looking at that. And I think it's also going to help Fall River, Middleboro, and the other places, because the same thing. Get the trains running, get enough trains running that you're not waiting an hour for the train. We get enough trains running that you can sit there and riding comfortably, and you're not going to hit traffic.
Right. As far as the scheduling, I'm kind of a schedule geek. I look at bus schedules and train schedules for fun. You know what I mean? He looks at me like, "You all right?" But as far as keeping things local, I'm just hoping that when they schedule the new trains or whatever, 2 minutes, that he knows I get off on. I get a little carried away when it comes to transportation. That's why he spent 2 minutes.
But it's the most important thing.
Well, maybe to have trains, maybe more of a local, like shuttles in between cities. You know what I'm saying? Instead of going into Boston, have more shuttle trains in between.
Yeah.
Than to have but we'll see how it works out. Julie.
All right, I've got about 45 seconds. To use a Star Wars reference, the Kansas City Chiefs are like the Empire, with Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine at the helm, and everyone else is the rebels trying to defeat the Empire. And for 2 years straight, they've failed. Real quick, Ed, will they fail a third time? Will the Chiefs win the Super Bowl next year?
You know, everything being equal, I'm going to say yes. Remember, the old Empire was the New England Patriots. I'm hoping that Mahomes doesn't break a lot of Tom Brady's records so quickly. You kind of want him last. But I think the Kansas City Chiefs are now the next New England Patriots, and you are going to see them win 6 or 7 Super Bowls and maybe even in a less than 20-year era.
You were talking about how the coach, what's his name, Reed?
Reed, Andy Reid.
He's just a cool character.
He is.
Cool cat.
Doesn't let anything get to him.
Because he was getting yelled at by, what's his name now?
Like Travis Kelce, yeah.
You know, that was more just the excitement of
What's
it.
that?
You kind of
My girlfriend's watching me, put me in the game.
No, I think it was. Well, I think they weren't using him, and that could be part of it. I think he was just excited. And remember, at the time, were they losing? Yeah,
they were losing, and he had at that point he had 1 catch for 1 yard.
Yeah, and that is It's like not using Gronkowski when he was at his prime.
Yeah.
You know, I can understand. I don't think. Oh, he pushed him over.
Yeah.
No, he was so excited he bumped into his coach. Because it was jumping up
Exactly.
so much, you know?
All right, it is 8 a.m. I want to thank everyone for listening to today's program. Thank you, Don, once again.
We need a 2-hour show. Right?
I say the same thing.
I mean,
you know something, though? I could fill a 6-hour show, and not get everything out that needs to be talked about. But I agree with you. You need 2 hours, I need 2 hours.
It's just good because, when you do have co-hosts, you have people in the studio, and you have Tony, Bishop Tony Branch. It makes it so much smoother.
Yeah. You don't feel like you're talking to yourself.
Yeah, no, it's just, you can dialogue back and forth. It's the same when you do the Today in History, you can talk about it, but I know you gotta go.
And thank you, Ed Miller, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Now I gotta research my show, so I'm ready in 4 hours.
Yeah, noontime, stand up strong.
But you know, just filling an hour takes how many hours and getting it what you want to say. It isn't like, oh, I'm going to talk about it. And sometimes you're looking throughout the whole week.
Yeah.
You know, so filling 1 hour is a long time.
And listen to the Morning Wake Up News tomorrow. I will be filling in for Chris Keach tomorrow. Tomorrow is President's Day. Chris Keach is off. I'll be filling in for him. Until Thursday. I'll be on the air again on Thursday. Have a great weekend and a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ed.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you for the soda.
Yeah, no problem. They didn't have Diet Pepsi, they only had that.
That's fine. 0 sugar is fine.
Bye, everybody. Hi, Dave. Patrick. Hi, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. We'll be back next week with another great show. Potentially, Jim DuPont will be with us. I will find out sometime this week and let everyone know on Thursday. All right, thank you, everybody, for watching today, and we'll be back next week.